Ken Druck. We will end this exciting day of learning with a song from the incredible Voices of Our City. Welcome, Bill and Ken.
I bet you can think about one person that you have not seen for the last 15, 16 months, who you miss, who you love to have a conversation with. Well, we created an opportunity for me to have an intimate conversation with a dear friend, and it's a conversation about aging. And my friend Bill Walton is here with me.
Who better than someone who's old and in the way?
There you go.
Someone who's so much younger than
Well,
I used to be.
we got 68 here. We got 72. How many years together?
72?
72.
I thought you were still in high school, man.
Oh,
Come
no,
on.
no.
Got a new dog.
I know.
Way to go, kid.
It's all going on. Bill, thanks so much for being with us.
You got the equation wrong. I thank you. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I'm married to Lori. I'm alive, and I know Ken Druck. And we're here talking to our friends,
Thank you, my
to
brother.
our community here in San Diego. And that's one of the critical elements of trying to age gracefully, the effort. And one of the things that I really try to focus in on is the concept of identity, who we are, purpose, what we want to do, and then the community that we're a part of. And when you have those three things in your life, then you have a real chance to move forward. Yeah. And I've been lucky in my life that I had so many great mentors, including you and all the projects that we've done together in our lives and in our future that still holds for us. But as a young person, so many people tried to help me. And sometimes I listened and sometimes I didn't. But now I'm one of the old guys. And here I am, and people come to me all the time. And they always ask me, what do we do? Where do we go? How do we do it? What do we say? And I gather all the information, and then I pretty much try to explain to them that you're not looking for advice, you're looking for an accomplice. Yes. And so as we move through life, one of the things that's been most beneficial to me is the communities that I've been a part of. Yes. First of all, growing up here in San Diego with the greatest parents ever. My dad's passed away 17 years ago. My mom's still going strong at 94 in the same family home on the hills surrounding Lake Murray. 69 years she's been there. They moved there right when I was born. I'm 68, but I'm in my 69th year.
And she's doing that alone? Does she have somebody living with her?
Oh, she has 24/7 care.
So, great.
And she'll be watching this show, and so and she'll be correcting me with all the things. But my parents were the greatest parents ever, but zero interest in sports. I was super lucky as a child in that the volunteer coach at the elementary school I went to in East San Diego was as important a figure as I've ever had in my life. And then when I was 9 years old, I started with Rocky. He was the coach, and he coached for 59 years as a volunteer and gave his life to build the community. Just a real pillar and a tower of strength and an example of perfection of what a life can be.
And you watched him through his seasons of his life.
Right, and I also watched him pass.
Yes.
And he remained very dignified the entire time. He remained the leader. And leadership is so critically important, as we've found through all of our mentors. And we understand that it's not how or what you teach, it's who the teachers are themselves. Yeah. And so from Rocky when I was 8, to Chick Hearn when I was 9, when he started broadcasting for the Lakers on the radio for me, and then John Wooden. Yeah. And those were sort of the overarching figures, and they all had different lives, but they all had the sense of purpose of what can we do to make things better. And then in my own life, the experiences that have come my way because I was a good basketball player, and the people I've been able to meet, and including so many of the artists and the musicians that we all go see together all the time on the concert scene. And I'll talk right now about the Grateful Dead.
Yes.
Because one of the things that I always encourage people of whatever age is to try to find something. It's very hard. None of this is easy. When life looks like easy street, there's danger at your
Yes.
door. But the efforts to, to define yourself, to create yourself, to relate to other people, to be a part of a team. So I found the Grateful Dead when I was 15. I met them when I was 21. And
Who did you connect with the most when you met them? All of
the
them.
entirety of everything.
Okay.
Because it's a real team.
Yeah.
And nobody makes it to the top alone. But I found this culture, this world of joy and happiness and celebration through the music. I also learned so many lessons in life from Bob Dylan and Neil Young and Jimmy Cliff and John Fogerty and Jackson Browne and the Beach Boys and the Rolling Stones. This is an endless list.
Yes.
And so I know we're up against the time here. So just if whoever your musicians are, I grew up in a classical music household. And so there was music on all the time. We didn't have a television.
What is the music you're listening to now that feels like it resonates?
All of it. I listen to the shuffle.
Okay.
I put it on the shuffle.
Yeah.
And somehow the shuffle knows what I need. And something will come up. And I listen to all kinds of music, rock. I listen to country. I listen to classical music. I listen to reggae. I love Jimmy Cliff. And
What about the music that people are watching now and they're saying, what is the music that is with me, that resonates with me at this season of my life? Is it the old stuff that I conjure back up? Are there
that's
new
a choice.
things
That's a choice.
that
And
are
I
helping
can't
me
tell,
age and ripen as a human being?
as I have been forced to recover so many different times. And the aging process is very difficult, and it requires you to recover. It requires you to change on a constant basis. And so listen to the music that makes you happy, because the world will keep coming in on you, and it'll create fear. It will create isolation. It will create all the negatives in our lives that we want to be free of and wash ourselves and just take a shower basically, or jump in the ocean and clean off. But to find what makes you happy.
What makes your heart sing?
I'm always sick. I'm always sick of something or somebody. And I have learned with all the different challenges, most of my challenges have been physical challenges. Now, I certainly have mental challenges as well, but those tend to come on more emphatically when my body's not working.
Yes.
So I have to work on my health on a constant basis. And so to deal with the sickness, to deal with the forces of evil, I have learned what works for me as the medicine, which is sports, participation in whatever it is you can do. And as we get older, it's harder and harder. And so I'm at the point, the end of the line, old and in the way, that there's three things. The three things most people can do all the way to the end. That's be in the water, move around, because I can't move in the air at all. I've had 39 orthopedic operations. Both my ankles are fused, both my knees are replaced, my hands and wrists don't work, my spine has been totally rebuilt and reconstructed. Fortunately,
Parts and service.
Fortunately, I'm with UCSD Health, and the people up there, they know what they're doing. And, you have to have a great doctor as you're moving forward.
Yes.
You cannot do this, and you have to have people who you can trust that have your best interests at heart. And so I've been so lucky to have been able to be a part of UCSD Health. And then after the movement stuff, because you have to keep moving.
Yeah.
Einstein, he loved his bicycle, he loved his violin, he loved his music, he loved to think. And he said two things about the bike. He said, there's nothing that gives me more hope about the future than seeing an adult ride a bicycle. Then he also said, separately about the bicycle, that riding a bike is just like life. To maintain your balance, you have to keep moving forward. And so I do that motion in the water, in the weight room, and on my bike, but I also try to do it in conjunction with other people. Now, I'm a loner by nature. I've spent most of my adult life on the big stage with all kinds of people around, but I'm a quiet guy. I'm a lifelong stutterer. I had a huge stuttering problem when I was a child, really till I was 28 years old. I couldn't speak at all till then, and I learned how to speak, and while it became my greatest accomplishment, it became everybody else's worst nightmare. And so here I was, though, living this really, really exciting, dynamic, fun, exhilarating life, but always enjoying the quiet time. And fortunately, I'm super happy in love. Now, I can't speak for Lori, but I will speak for myself. Because as I was going through all the challenges to get where I am today, which is in a very good space, physically, emotionally, mentally, but the changes keep coming, and it never really stabilizes. And so our challenges to try to be out in front of that change. It's like riding the waves.
You talk to Lori about issues that are coming up. Something bubbles up
Well,
with you about.
Well, because my life always changes. COVID was the 21st time that I've had to totally start over in my life because my life, Ken, has been defined by meteoric climbs to the top and getting to the top, but then not being able to stay there. And I love being on top. But because of all the orthopedic challenges that I've had, that would just take me all the way to the bottom and then have to totally start over again. So I got a lot of practice at this.
What's your new top? What's the top that feels most like where you are at this point in your life? That's something you're aspiring to?
The hardest lesson that I've learned recently, and I don't really try to get into ranking everything, but one of the great lessons of life that I learned recently was something that John Wooden used to just drive home to us all the time. Now, in my life, I had the perfect childhood. And, we didn't have anything in terms of material accomplishments or material possessions or any of the things like that, but we had everything. I mean, growing up in La Mesa, where it's 75, 80 degrees every day, and schools and people and communities and family, and that's what I thought that the whole world was like. And then I went to UCLA, and it was like the dream come true. and then I joined the NBA, and then things changed, because that's when I started to realize that not everybody had great parents, not everybody had a coach like Rocky when they were 8 years old. Not everybody had Chick Hearn every day in their ear, and not everybody had a John Wooden in their life. And so I then, had to start over one more time. Yes. And so with the blessings of this incredible life, also is the curse of thinking that everybody else had this too, and their understanding and the realization that not every place is like San Diego, and not every individual life is like the privileged one that I led. And so as we come together as a community, seeking the rising tide for all of us, and the ability to find what will make us happy. Because the goal is happiness, and happiness is a result. It's not something that you can just turn a switch on. I mean, it's a result of your health, your family, your home, your sanctuary, your safe place. And I love where we live. There is nothing. We live in Hillcrest on the north edge of Balboa Park, and we've been there for 42 years. And there's nothing in my life nothing good that would entice me to ever leave, because I've been around the world and I've seen every place else.
I want to go back to something you said. You had the experience of having to retire from your first profession.
I never retire.
At an early age.
I'm forced to stop.
Because there are a lot of people watching that are now facing retirement, or they're staring into the abyss because they have retired. What would you say to them?
Don't stop.
Don't stop.
Find something new. And always stay active, particularly, well, stay as active as you can physically. One of the things that we learn in our world of orthopedic challenges and striving for health is that motion is lotion. And the more you move, the better you're going to feel. And I don't know the scientific aspects of the value of exercise other than it makes me feel great. And when I have my biggest troubles, mentally, emotionally, personally, it's because I'm not moving.
Yep.
And when I'm not out there, riding my bike or in the weight room. So that the first days are the hardest days. The first step is the hardest step. Now, motivation has never been my problem. My problems have been the inability of my body to cash the checks that my brain so freely writes.
Yes.
And so while I've spent half my adult life in the hospital, while I spent a lot of my adult life thinking that I would never be happy in love, and then I met Lori, and everything has just been, sunshine, roses, rainbows, calliopes, clowns, balloons, you name it. Yes. And so I'm so lucky there. But you have to be able to create the culture that you live in. Mm-hmm. And start with your own home or your safe place, wherever that is. And the ability to be able then to create that wherever you go. Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things, Bob Dylan in our lives, he was one of those guys at the very beginning who taught us about expanding the boundaries and to not be afraid. And one of the things that sports, the team, and the music does for you is that it gives you the confidence. It empowers you. It enables you. And when it's like when you're riding your bike. And I just came from riding out at Cabrillo, which is such a spectacular place. And it's got everything. You roll up the hill, and there's just so many different paths to the top at Cabrillo.
Your sense of wonder is so alive.
And so, there's all these beautiful neighborhoods. The pavement is excellent. You can always find, no matter the day.
Bill, how do you keep your sense of wonder? Because you are still
I'm
savoring, cherishing, fascinated.
I'm lucky in that I grew up with people who encourage me to be curious, encourage me to experiment, and encourage me to explore. And so we didn't have a TV growing up. At first we couldn't afford one, and then it was my parents' choice that, look, there's nothing on worth watching. This was before the advent of sports television with ESPN and all this stuff, and where all the games are on all the time. And one of the things right now in our life is that it's even more so now as we come out of COVID, is that there's just so much, and that you have to have those filters, and you have to be able to manage your time. And so, here I was with a life, a background, a foundation of music, of books, and of the radio. And the radio with Chick Hearn, for me, was just always positive. Now, one of the things that is distressing to me is the amount of negativity, the amount of hate radio, the hate speech, and the anger and the viciousness. Now, when you're a bike rider, and say you're riding up on Point Loma, which I just did before I came here, and the neighborhoods are so beautiful and the vegetation, and then you get onto the base there, and they have all the tombstones of the people who have sacrificed everything so that our dreams have a chance. And then you get onto the Cabrillo National Monument and the nature, and you can go up to the lighthouse, you can go to the visitor center, but the real joy is when you go down to the tide pools, and it's the closest thing to Hawaii that we have in California, where it's just so beautiful, and the waves and the quiet and the solitude and the natural plants, the natural existence, and then the best part of life, which is the climb up on the bike on the way back up, and where it all really comes together. And that sense of understanding, the sense of appreciation, but the sense of confidence,
Yes.
the sense of empowerment, enabling. And one of the things that I love about the music that we go see all the time is how much knowledge you get when you're there, how much inspiration you get, how you're healed, and then the direction from when you walk out the door at the end of the night. And you say, okay, now I've got it, and I figured it out. And so much of that comes from the storytelling that I've been exposed to in my life, mostly through the books. I'm an avid reader. I have taken up watching films on my iPad, particularly on the airplanes, but I haven't been on the airplanes now in 15 months. That's starting back up. But my life, my business, my world is changing on a constant basis. And so one of the things that I've learned is how to deal with change, and to learn to force yourself really to embrace it.
Yeah.
And
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Your kids, what they have, my last book was called Raising an Aging Parent.
Right.
All right? About what it's like for our kids to watch us passing through these seasons. The person who was the, all-powerful dictator of what was happening in our family life, or
Right. To
or
be in charge,
facilitator.
and now
What's
to
it
be
like for your kids? Do they ever say anything to you? Are they delighted? Are they taking cues from you as they watch you? Because as you said earlier, you're now the John Wooden. You're the older guy. You're the dad.
That's a heavy
You're the
burden to
mentor.
carry.
You're the mentor. What's that like, and what do they tell you? How do they like? They must delight in seeing you remain active. Their hearts must be heavy watching you suffer.
They have seen a lot of suffering. They've seen the crutches. They've seen the operations. They've seen the endless bad news. And I'm just.
What's the most difficult thing for them, and what's the thing that brings them the most joy about the way you're ripening as a human being?
I can't speak for them.
Okay.
You're going to have to get
Okay.
Adam,
What's your
Nathan,
guess?
Luke, Cam, Harmony, Chris. 'Cause
What's
we have
your-
6 children and 14
And grandchildren.
14 grandchildren, and it's fantastic because there's nothing like family. What you learn over the course of failure is that health and family are everything. When you're going along and you're soaring above the clouds and you're just flying and everything's going right, you don't think in terms of health and family. It's when you're down and when you can't move and you're all alone and you just and you look back and you say, man, I really blew that. But I'm a very lucky and very proud dad in that the children are doing well, they're healthy, and their children are healthy and doing well, and they're moving forward. They're all totally different. They have all kinds of different interests.
Do you have a special connection with any one or two or three of the grandkids that's just been there for you, that lights your heart up? All of them?
I love them all.
Yeah, of course.
To see the joy in the sadness of COVID and the devastation, the forced isolation, but also the burden of my own personal life, in that I'm always on the go. And
did they ever say to you, Dad, when are you going to retire and be?
I'm never going to retire.
When are you going to be a grandpa, or in this way or in the traditional way? What do they say to you?
The sad part, Ken.
Yeah.
And the grandchildren, they're not old enough right now
Okay.
to say this to me, and I'm not around enough.
Okay.
But the saddest part was when the children would say, Dad, you have to go out of town again?
Yeah.
Dad, I've got a presentation at school. Dad, we've got the prom. Dad, we've got graduation.
Harry Chapin.
Yeah.
We'll get together then.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the organization that's required, and bringing it back to the beginning of this conversation, the identity, the purpose, and the community, and the ability to say to people, because there's no shortage of people who want you to do something. But the
Especially if you're Bill Walton. Especially if
the
you're Bill
necessity
Walton.
at times to say, I'm sorry, but I don't do that anymore. And but it's hard because there are so many great people
And worthy causes.
and there's so many wonderful causes, and people need help. And I know how many people have helped me. And I also know the value to me of providing that help. Because, when you're down and when you're feeling alone and you don't see the path forward and it's nothing but darkness, please don't sit there and think about it, and don't turn on the TV and watch the news, and don't watch the commercials, because they're going to tell you something that you're going to believe you have. And so I've learned through experience to go out and volunteer for people who are worse off than you are.
Yes.
And it just lifts you.
Is that part of your legacy, leaving a legacy of love? Or what would you call it? A legacy of...
I don't think about legacy.
Okay.
Because I'm still going.
Oh,
And,
strong.
And I'm, in a way, I'm just getting started in that the world is changing around us.
Yes.
And I like... I remember in the days of body surfing and boogie boarding, whether it would be at Mission Beach or Ocean Beach or Pacific Beach or Black's Beach or La Jolla Shores or all these places, or in Hawaii when we would go there, and just how fun it is to be out in front of the wave.
Yes.
And I try to utilize that in my own life. But that requires a tremendous amount of concentration and analysis and figuring out and talking to other successful people about creating the vision, what it is that you want, shaping that, and then how to get there.
What is your vision for this coming season of your life? As the world reopens, as we go back out into the world, what's your vision for, what makes your heart sink to think about?
I want to be involved in the business aspect. I'm no longer a competitive athlete, but I'm a competitive person. Yes. And I like to be on winning teams. And so all the new businesses that are coming up, one of the things that we're most proud of is the job we've done with San Diego Sport Innovators. Mm-hmm. And creating all the jobs, creating all the companies in the sports and active lifestyle. Silo here in San Diego, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry here, right here, with 1,200 companies right here in San Diego. And then also I volunteer for Clean Tech San Diego and all the renewable energy projects that are going on, and between Jason and Marty and Martha and all the different people up at Clean Tech, and just the phenomenal work that they're doing with solar and wind and geothermal, and just making the future sustainable, which makes all of us happier, because that comes back to our health. And so as the world has changed and the media business has changed, I mean, I'm trying to find my way, and I'm trying to learn from other people who are a lot smarter than I am as to how I'm going to be able to navigate this financial future while also maintaining the physical health that I have to have. Because right now I'm doing fantastic. Yeah. I mean, I have no pain. That's a relative term, and then and I can walk for function. I can ride my bike a lot. Every day I'm in the weight room, and every day I'm in the water, and so that makes me feel great. But now I have to be able to transition from that into the business world, a business world that is totally changing,
completely.
And how the material, how the content is created, and then how it's consumed. And the differences, I mean, one of the things that's so inspirational about my friendship with all these musicians is how they have created the life where they're the boss and they're in charge. And when you're the athletes, as we see with the great ones now, whether it's Kevin Durant, whether it's Giannis, whether it's Luka, whether it's still LeBron, we could have had this conversation.
Tatis.
Tatis, oh my gosh. I'm going to the Padre game tonight,
Yes.
and I love going to the Padre game. It's so fun down there at Petco Park. Yeah. But how the athletes
Yes.
have now been able to seize their position and to be able to be the ones who are in charge. And the older you get, and the further away you get from having the ball in your hand, Tatis's bat, Tatis's glove, whatever your sport is, it doesn't matter. It's what you like. You know, I'm watching the soccer Europe, the European Championships right now, and these guys are just brilliant. And but the further you get away from being the guy with the ball, the harder it is. And you know, and that's where the relationships come in, and the teachers, the team, the culture, finding the right culture, and then but constantly working on building your foundation so that when it fails, you can fall back onto something to start over again.
Well, and you've shown up today as a generous gesture to carry the ball for us and to promote vital aging. And I just want to thank you. And I know you feel like you've been given the gift.
You have the equation wrong. I keep telling you this. I'm the lucky one. I know Ken
Druck.
Well,
I want you to thank me. Go ahead. I'll stand in for it.
I thank Ken Druck for standing up in front and to discuss these vital issues here. Because, this message has to be delivered, and it is obscured. And because some people will tell you, just take this pill or just rest. And we're not going to get better by sitting there waiting. When you're critically injured, you have to rest.
Yes.
But the ability to keep working. I mean, I remember when I've spent so many years with my physical therapist, Bruce Innes, who just got to the point in his life once COVID hit that he just said, you know what, I'm going to stop doing this. Yeah. But Bruce, he brought me back through everything: the fused ankles, the knee replacements, the spine reconstruction, everything. And there would always be this point along the way. He said, Bill, you're not going to get better just by sitting there and waiting for it to happen. It's time to get to work.
Get to work.
And so I've been super lucky in that I've had all these people, and I've had the ability to learn from my own failures and mistakes that nothing good happens without honor, without sacrifice, and without discipline.
Bill Walton, you're a good man.
I'm a lucky man.
And you're a blessed man, and I'm blessed to have you as a friend, and our audience is blessed to have had this time with you.
Thank you. Thank you, San Diego, for your kindness, your generosity, your patience. Thank you for my life. I am indeed the luckiest guy in the world.
Thank you, brother.